When us small business owners decide to hire a new person for our team, it's typically because we're at capacity or over capacity. We're working too hard, our team are overwhelmed, and we just need some extra additional support to take the pressure off and to bring new expertise in. However, why is it that when most people hire new staff, the experience isn't one of immediate calm and reduction of stress? It's the opposite. Suddenly we have more work to do. We have to figure out how to onboard them, how to set stuff up for them, to delegate work to them. And the whole thing actually creates more stress. Sometimes it works out and we end up with a brilliant new team member and it's all going well. But all too often I see people go through this painful process of finding a great person, of trying to integrate them to the team, but not getting it right. And that person can leave after weeks or maybe months. And the whole experience is just a waste of time and you have to go back to the beginning. Today, I want to talk about our advanced onboarding process. This is a process I've developed since the day one of my business and I'm continually iteratively improving it. It's how we've just onboarded our latest team member. And despite us not having an operations manager at the moment, our team was able to pull together and complete all the activities in time for this person to start work. So when they arrived on day one, they had everything they needed and understood how we're going to work with them, how to communicate effectively and what they needed to do from day one. So if you've ever had a less than perfect experience on bringing a new team member, of things not going quite as smoothly as you wish, then stick around as I walk through our entire advanced onboarding process. And do remember to hit subscribe so you don't miss out on future episodes of cool stuff like this, which will just make your business run far more smoothly and give you more time to enjoy the stuff you love each day. So the question is this: how do entrepreneurs like us who don't have an endless supply of cash, how do we leverage the best apps, virtual assistants, automation tools and systems to scale our businesses, increase our profits and have more time to do what we love to do each day? That is the question and this podcast will give you the answer. My name's Dr. Steve Day and this is Systemize Your Success. Okay, so I'm recording this episode at the time where we've literally just had a new person. They've been onboarded into our company and they're due to start on Monday. We had a team meeting today just to make sure that everything was ready for this person. And I reflected on how complicated the whole thing was, of how many steps were involved. But my biggest reflection was, my God, how did I manage to do this before I'd actually created a fully documented process behind it? I remember the days when hiring somebody or onboarding somebody, I should say, was just a winging it process. Literally, they would arrive on day one. I'd give them some stuff to do, hope for the best. And as things came up, as problems arose, I'd fix them. Like, oh, you haven't got access to this. Oh, you need that. Or you can't do this because you hadn't got this or whatever it is. Things just basically fitted together over the first few weeks. And if that person stuck around, if they weren't put off by the complete chaos that my business used to be, then great, we'll get to a place where we were actually working effectively and things were running smoothly. But that often took weeks, if not months, to get it right. However, now, even before this person starts, we have got everything set up. And I'm confident that when they arrive on day one, they'll know where to go, how their work will be delegated. They'll have access to the training for the apps they need to be able to work day to day with us. They'll understand what their role is and what's expected of them. And all of this has happened in the background without really much input at all from me, despite us actually not having a formal operations manager who would typically deal with this stuff. So not having an operations manager has basically meant that other team members have had to chip in and do bits and bobs around the activities. But because we've got it documented, that wasn't actually a big problem. It was just a case of actually organizing who was going to do what based on their access and their availability and their capacity. So the whole thing, despite not having an operations manager, has gone incredibly smoothly. And that was the inspiration to think, like, I've got to share this. I've got to explain how we did this. But once you've got it, it means that the whole onboarding process becomes super slick, it becomes professional, and it doesn't require you as the business owner to get involved. There may be certain decisions you have to make at certain times throughout the process, but actually all of the work can be done by other people. It's just a case about setting things up and having a standard way of doing things. And that's what I want to talk about today. So our advanced onboarding process has over 40 individual tasks to get someone set up and ready to start working with us. Some of those have subtasks. Many of those require frameworks or documents or wikis to back them up so people know how and what to do when they actually start doing that particular task. And so building this is something that you do over time. You have to make decisions about how you want people to be onboarded. What do you want people to have access to? Which apps do they need subscriptions for? Which ones are you going to share by a password management app? How are they going to actually work with you? What tasks will be assigned to them? What licenses maybe need to be bought for them? but the vast majority of the decisions can be made and documented before you actually do the hiring process. And when you hire somebody into a similar role in the future, the vast majority of the decisions will be the same. So each time you hire a new role, you may have to tweak things a little bit. So for example, if I hire a new marketing assistant like we've just done now, compared to hiring a salesperson or an operations person, their access to various things might change, but the general onboarding process will be the same. So each time we onboard someone into a new role, there may be some amendments that need to be done to the system, but the vast majority of it is the same for every single person. That way, we're basically creating a sort of cookie cutter approach to onboarding, but one that is flexible enough to allow us to use it for any type of role in our business. So the onboarding process I want to talk about today is part of our advanced recruit right and onboarding pipeline. This is a project that we set up in our task management app that allows us to track the entire process from start to finish of making a decision to hire somebody, of going through some pre-hiring work, the hiring process, the pre-onboarding, the standard onboarding, and then the advanced onboarding process. It allows me as the manager or the business owner to be able to see where my team are up to in this process. And whether you're using an agency to hire someone for you, using the recruit right hiring system that we offer, or your own way of doing this pre-onboarding and onboarding stages are going to be the same regardless of where this person comes from. This is how you get somebody new integrated into your business, regardless of how you found that person. So whatever type of recruitment process you work, this episode is still massively valuable to you. So onboarding for us starts at the time we make the decision to hire somebody. So right at that early stage, we can start thinking about like this new role we're hiring for. Do we need to purchase any licenses for this person? Are there specific software that they're going to have access to that we need to actually arrange that ahead of time? Are there any other things we need to set up for this person that we haven't done before? Or is this just a role that we've had previously and therefore we've got everything we need and all decisions have been made? By having that time before we start hiring and start thinking about this stuff, it means that we're preparing ahead of schedule. So it doesn't all happen at once and get overwhelming at that point we've actually found that person and you want to onboard them and get them started. During our pre-hiring meeting, we go through what's called our staff access log sheets. This is where we document for each type of role in our business, what apps do we need to add the person to as a user? What LastPass permissions, for example, do they need so they can get access to the right passwords they'll need for their role? What Google Groups they need to be able to do so they get access to all of the shared drives that they need to? What Asana Teams they need to be able to so they can, and projects so they can have access to work they want? What Slack channels they need to be able to, and what company meetings they need to go onto? By documenting the decisions role by role, it means that next time we hire somebody into the same or a similar role, the act of onboarding is far, far easier. We've made all the decisions ahead of schedule. And this pre-onboarding meeting is just a case of sense checking, just to make sure nothing's changed, we need to update anything. Now, you may use different apps in your company. You may have a different way of working. That's fine. Whatever you do, it's just about documenting the decisions. So when you hire, say, your first admin assistant, what are you going to give them access to? Let's write that down. Let's make a list. So then next time someone comes in, you can do the same thing. Then when you hire someone into a new role, you may give them access to a different set of things with a different set of apps, for example, and different permissions. Therefore, document what that is. That is the process of creating what's called our access log sheets. Once you've got those in place, it means that anybody in your team with the right permissions can do the entire onboarding process without having to come back and ask you. And it means that when that person arrives on day one, they're going to have access to the core stuff they need. Yeah, there may be additional stuff you need to add later. That's fine. What we don't want someone to do is arrive on day one and feel like they're hitting barriers at every turn. If you've ever worked for a company and you've not got all the stuff you need to do your work, it's incredibly frustrating. And your first few days can just be a case of setting up logins and getting started. We want to make this experience to be seamless. This person comes in feeling like, wow, this company's awesome. This is where I want to work. These guys are systemized, they know what they're doing, and this is somewhere that I want to stick around for the long term. If we can get that feeling into that person from day one, the chance of them actually sticking around is going to be far higher, and that for you as a business owner is absolutely priceless. So we're going to fast forward now to the point we've actually made the decision to hire somebody. We have a process with templates and guides on how we set up our position agreements and our terms of engagement or your hiring agreement with the employee. We've got a process that shows our staff how to use our e-sign software to set up and send it to the new employee. That means that all of that happens without my involvement, and I just get an email saying, can you just sign this document, and it's all done. We then have a process to chase up any licenses that are needed to be bought. Like, were they actually bought at the time we made that decision earlier, or do we need to go and pay for those now so this person can be fully onboarded? We then go through what's called a standard onboarding process. And this happens for every single employee. So it's really simple to systemize. Everyone that comes and starts with us needs to have a LastPass license. They need to have a ScreenPal screen recording software. They need a Google license or a free Google email setup, and they need access to the task manager to do their work. Everybody always gets that. So we've documented the simplest way for us to do that. So for us, for example, we set up an email account and then we just add that email to the various apps. That email address then receives the invitations from all of our apps, and the person on the receiving end can then go and set up the accounts as they need to. It minimizes the work for us to do it because we've thought about the structure and the order in which things need to be done to make sure that A, the person has the access, but B, our team don't have to spend hours setting stuff up, which actually doesn't need to be done by them. That's one of the key things about having planned and iterated this process over the years, is that we've made it as absolutely slick as possible. So after we've completed the standard onboarding process, we've now got an email address set up, and we can start thinking about what other apps and access and permissions this person needs. So we go through setting up additional user accounts, so all the apps they need access to, like our CRM, for example, then we add them as a user to the CRM. We then grant them access to the different teams and projects within our task management app. We reassign the tasks that they need to actually start working on. So any tasks that are either currently done by other people, we move those over to their task matrix on their task management app. We then set them up with LastPass. We set them up with their sharing groups. We go through instant messaging groups. We add them to additional meetings that aren't covered by our sharing groups. We make sure that we add the additional tasks, their taskbar specific for their role, things like checking the unified inbox. So we have a unified inbox management system. Our staff have to check that on a daily basis to make sure there's no tasks being assigned to them in there. We do things like setting them up with time trackers so they can get their invoices created and then paid later. We've got a task to arrange a welcome meeting and then sending any additional documents for signature, for example, data sharing agreements or intellectual property reassignments. And then our chase up loop to make sure actually all those things are signed, and then we are done. And that's it. So once they've done all those steps, our new staff member is ready to get started. They've got everything they need. They've got all the documents signed. They've got the access that they need. And it all relies on having things set up. Setting this up for yourself may seem overwhelming at first. There's a hell of a lot of things going on here. But the way that we did it is to do it slowly, iteratively, build up as you go. The next time you hire somebody, start just writing down what you're actually doing. Then the next time you hire somebody after that, you'll see that actually there's a lot of similarities and there's just a few things that need to change. If you document the access that people get as you onboard them, then also as they're working in their role and you give them new access, keep a record of that, because that's probably the same access that a similar role will need in the future. That way you can start creating a completely standardized way of onboarding everybody into your company. The key to making this work seamlessly is understanding how all of your apps integrate together, how each of those need to be set up, when they need to be set up, how to train people on doing them. So each stage in the process, so for example, how you organize your shared drives makes a difference to your onboarding process. How you share access to those, like do you use sharing groups or are you putting people on individually? How do you share passwords or a last password sharing app? How are they organized? What folder structure do you use in there? How do you delegate work? Do you have a process and a system for delegating work via a task management app? Is that documented well? Do the person coming in have access to training so they understand how to use that effectively in the same way that you want everybody to in the company? Do you have training around communication, like how people actually communicate within your company? All of these types of things take time to set up. And yes, you can go and do it all yourself. But if you'd rather spend your time doing stuff you actually enjoy doing, then why don't you check out the Systemize Your Success Academy? That's where we share everything. This advanced onboarding process, our recruit right hiring system, and far more besides. How to hire, onboard, train, and work with your team effectively, to manage them like a pro, how to create systems for everything you do in your business, pipelines for your recurring tasks, how total visibility and control, set up reporting, and far more besides, to basically build an entire operating system for your business in a step-by-step way with guidance and support the entire way through the process. That is what the Systemize Your Success Academy is all about. You can check it out at join.sys.academy. That's join.sys.academy. And there you'll find more information about our platform, about the community, about our 19 plus courses, about dozens of frameworks and processes and done for you and plug and play stuff that basically, which means you can get things set up far quicker than you could ever do yourself. I've literally spent the past 9 years thinking about this. This is all I do. I absolutely love operations. I love systems. I'm a total systems geek. That's why I've got this podcast. That's what I've set up this community for. And I've been coaching and guiding over 350 clients over the past 9 years on doing all of this and far more besides. So go and check it out at join.sys.academy and see if it's the right thing for you to move your business forward. And if you want to find out more, there's a link on that page so you can book a call and have a chat with us so you can find out if the Systemize Your Success Academy is right for you, for your business at this stage or not. Either way, thank you so much for listening today. I hope you found this interesting and useful. And please do hit subscribe for more episodes on building a business that serves you, that allows you to live with more presence, more purpose, and more freedom. And do please share this with anyone you feel who would benefit from learning how to build a unified onboarding system for your staff. Thank you so much. I'll see you next time. Bye.